Preview.
I've had many clients of mine who say the reason we're a privately held business is because we want to be very private and keep all the information within the family or the few shareholders in the business. One of the questions that always comes up is, when should a business owner during the process tell their employees, their customers, their vendors? Any advice you can give on that topic? And I know every situation's different, but
No, it's a great question. I think the common belief among many of our clients is that if anybody in the world finds out about this deal, my business is shot. My customer's never going to buy from me again. All my employees are going to leave. My vendors are going to stop selling to me. Somewhat irrational expectations, but the fear is real. And so, I would say a little bit sort of adding to what Corey said, sort of the when and how, I think, does depend a little bit on what you're looking to achieve by a sale. If you're just looking to kind of sell to a strategic buyer, for instance, create an exit strategy for yourself, you could probably do a process with fewer people where you don't need to tell anybody else besides maybe you and your CFO, and maybe a CEO, depending on your role, but a very small group to get through a process. And then, you really inform the rank and file employees, a day before the deal happens. I think that's achievable when we're talking about a strategic who probably knows your industry. They probably have a GM of a division that would eventually step into your role. They're not as concerned about, the day-to-day management of your company. They're more concerned about the products and the customers and the fit, et cetera. And if you want to do a deal with a private equity firm, I believe you have to incorporate more people earlier in the process. Some salespeople, some head of R&D or production facility or whatever, because private equity firms look at the world a little differently. They need the team. They're heavily reliant on the team. In fact, they'll say, if the team's not great, we're not going to. There's no buyer at all. So trying to talk to a private equity firm and sort of sheltering your team from the process is at odds with what they're looking for. And they're going to say, we really like you, but we have no sense of the depth of your team, so we're not interested. Similarly, if your goal is to say, and we get a lot of owners that are, mid-late 60s and they've got the team beneath them, hey, I want this to be my exit, but I've got this great team who we really want to put in front of the buyer. Well, to do that, you really have to incorporate them into the process early on, bring them under the tent, get some agreements in front of them that gives them comfort that they're not going to lose their jobs day one. We help a lot of clients go through those mechanics. So you really want to bring more people under the tent earlier if either your goal is to get yourself out of the business or you're trying to go with a private equity firm. As far as customers and suppliers, that's going to be driven a little bit by the buyer. And if you have, say, we've sold many companies where Home Depot is half the sales or Best Buy is half the sales or Walmart, and ultimately the buyer is going to want to speak to any sort of, call them critical, high percentage suppliers, customers, partners, whatever it is, prior to executing a purchase agreement. Our goal is to try to have those conversations as late in the process as possible once all of the uncertainty related to the deal is off the table. You've got a purchase agreement that's ready to sign. There's really no more diligence out. You've negotiated all the terms and conditions, as Corey outlined a minute ago, that come with the deal. And that's sort of the last call, and they're coming to say, hey, we're buying this business. We're super excited. We want to make sure that the relationship is good, and you see doing more business with them, and they'll want to have a phone call with the buyer, in which case, you'll be on that call, or you'll have a chance to inform your people, inform your customers. And then as far as, the strategy, there's always a communication strategy with the buyer in terms of how do we tell the world, when we announce this deal, what's going on. And so you'll have a lot of time to think about who's the messaging, who delivers it, how do we deliver it. Again, a strategic deal, there might be sensitivities. If for instance, you have distributors and the buyer of your company has its own distribution force, right? That's a tough discussion. It may create some uncertainty. So a lot of these things need to really be thought through. And then the timing is also just sort of more collaborative.